Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, and today I'll be reading a multi-character listener by me. So let's get into it. Neuvillette. Neuvillette never really expected to see someone with a gun that was unauthorized. Usually that was not a case in Fontaine. In fact, due to very tight gun restrictions, he had only ever seen it once in the past decade, so it was a very rare occurrence. And thankfully, it was something that hardly ever happened. And yet, it just so happened that you were unlucky enough that it happened to you. You were on a walk, and when you got shot, he was called to your side. The culprit was thankfully dealt with by the Merchaussee Phantom. But you, the medics crowding you, a healer coming to your aid, it was a little bit too much. Seeing the sight, the blood, and the gun that was used to hurt you. Now, Neuvillette knew very well he will be able to deal with that person who did this. He will get justice. But still, he will never, ever be able to erase that moment. He was vibrating with fear and anger and so many feelings. And it started to rain. Monsieur Neuvillette, please, would you help us carry Lady Mayan? We already healed her a little bit, but we will need to surgically remove the bullet. One of the Milicians said, and he nodded, surrounding you all in a shield before immediately teleporting you to his wing at the Palais Mermonia. There was a private doctor stationed there, just in case. It was Farina's request, and it had come in handy multiple times. And today especially, he sat by her side, watching the doctors all come in, and try to assess the situation before deciding on how to perform the surgery. He was ruined. No matter what he had done, the guilt consumed him whole. He didn't know what to do with it. He felt like he didn't protect you. He wasn't there for you, and therefore, he was the cause of this. He had to leave once the surgery began. But once it was all over, he was by your side in an instant, holding your hand. But the rain, it never stopped ever since he heard of the news. Ever since you'd been passed out. Ever since he saw that wound. It's been raining and raining. But then, one fateful day, your fingers twitched in his hand, and you woke up to your smile, your eyes fluttering open. Neuvillette? Where am I? What happened? You're about to ask, but you totally stop when you see the look in his face. Hurt and relief, but most visibly, love. As he rushes forward, wrapping his arms around you gently as not to hurt you, kissing your face all over. And when he looks into your eyes, you see one look of desperation and love. Please, Leon. Please. Never let anything like this happen to you ever again. I would not be able to handle it. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I really am. There were so many words to be exchanged between the two of you. So many apologies he wanted to say, and so many explanations on your part. But for now, the two of you were simply relieved to be in the other's presence. Most importantly, Neuvillette was far too clingy to even talk to properly now. He just needed to be able to make sure that you were here and alive. Give him a little bit, and then he'll be just fine again. Wriothesley. Now, he didn't know how this happened, but when he heard the news of someone having contraband in the fortress, he never thought it a problem. After all, he will catch them in due time, and no one would dare make a scene or do something unwise, unless the situation deemed it so. But you did not primarily live in the fortress, and so, for this to happen, It truly felt like a curse. When they heard the news from some of the guards that you were taken at gunpoint and then shot when the person had been threatened by the guards, he immediately stormed out of his office, seeing Citrine with a tranquilizer gun and the criminal finally subdued. He has many words and a lot of anger within him, but most importantly, he has you, the fear of losing. And here you are, curled on the ground, a hand around your abdomen as you cried out, Wriothesley, Wriothesley, please, it hurts. You whined, and he couldn't help but look at you with nothing but pain, feeling guilty and awful. He could have prevented this had he taken quicker action, and yet he had let the problem fester for some idiotic reason. He carried you in his arms, telling the guards to deal with the criminal until he was back. And as for everything else, he will deal with it, personally. For now, he just needed to take you to the infirmary, Citrine following him quickly. And thankfully, she was able to deal with this without you sustaining anything, even a scar. You were perfectly fine. Your healing abilities were something talked about in Fontaine. So, no wonder she was able to do this. He was eternally grateful to her, but most importantly, he was ashamed, guilty. He feels like he partook in that crime merely by just leaving this problem to happen. But when you woke up and you smiled at him, the guilt hurt even more. I'm sorry, Ryan. I'm sorry I wasn't doing anything. It's my fault. I just needed to. Wriothesley, both you and I knew. You told me about this person. You had even warned me of coming to the fortress, and yet I did not listen. It's not your fault. You had done your best, and here you are, still doing that. So I won't hear any of you blaming yourself again, okay? He looks at you, his eyes softening, love flowing through them, love for you and your heart and your forgiving soul. And as you get up, with a little grunt, he lets you settle down, wrapping his arms around you so you're not the one moving too much to hug him. I love you, Wriothesley. I really do. Please, don't feel at fault for this. I'll try. I will. But as for that criminal, well, there are no laws in Mirapide. And he was kind of glad for that, because what he was about to do would certainly be illegal on the surface.